Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. We're going to discuss complex revenue structures at 2-4-C. Before we start, I'm going to give you a bit of time to scan the QR code that you're seeing on the screen. If you have any questions, we'll take the time to answer them at the end of the presentation. So first thing first, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Julien Plétin. I'm a senior consultant at Deloitte. I have some knowledge about Odoo. So I've been working more than 4 years on Odoo, and I'm here to represent Deloitte from the Odoo team. And
yes, I'm Gert de Sitters. I'm the owner and manager of 2-4-C. I did a PhD at the Vrije Universiteit Brussels, and 2-4-C is a startup company from the University of Brussels. Yeah, first of all, what is 2-4-C? I'll give you a very short introduction about 2-4-C. 2-4-C is a company and the service we're offering is structural health monitoring. It means we're monitoring structures, so not rotating parts or whatever, but mechanical structures. Think of, for example, big bridges, big buildings, locked doors in ports, but the main thing we're monitoring are foundations of offshore wind turbines. For that part, we are a one-stop shop, so we do the design of the system, we install the system, later on we capture the data from the system, and on a monthly basis, for example, we analyze the data and send those reports to our clients. It's a company that has been started in 2016. At the moment we're already monitoring more than 6 gigawatts worldwide of offshore wind turbine foundations. And the company has grown now we have 14 employees. Our biggest customers are RW, are the big operators in offshore wind. So RW is one, but also EDF, for example, Ocean Winds, and also some major players in the offshore wind like DEME and Jan de Nul, the installers, are also clients of 2-4-C. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing here to say.
so let's talk a bit more about the situation at 2-4-C and how we as Deloitte intervened. So at first, well, a long time ago, you told me that 2-4-C was operating on Odoo 8, which was apparently really badly implemented. But when we become involved in at 2-4-C as Deloitte, 2-4-C was operating on Odoo v16. The problem was that it was also not being used properly, so the project was to migrate from the 16 environment to a fresh new 18.2 environment. So we used Odoo Online purely, almost no modification. We had a few customizations that were done with Studio, so adding one field or two there, mostly to help in project management, because as Gert said, they are working on long-term projects, which means that they are doing revenue recognition. So that was one of the challenges, and that's what we're going to discuss a bit today with you. The fact that revenue recognition is not something that's easily done in Odoo, but during the project, that's something that we managed to do. We also implemented analytical accounting on those long-term projects, because there are also different departments at 2-4-C, and all those departments have different budgets. And of course, the last part is the fact that since 2-4-C is a technological company, they have long quotations that they build in Excel, and what they quote is really different to what they invoice to their customers. So you have in one part the quotation that is really extensive with a lot of details, and then there's the sales order, which is more like a contract, which is a few lines. And that mismatch was also a lot of challenge that we had during the implementation.
Yeah, so as Julien said, we have different kind of projects, and one of the main project is what we call our supply project, and that's supplying a system. Those kind of projects and contracts are part of the building of a wind farm, and those are really huge projects, and we are part of it. So we also have contracts of multiple 100 pages, and typically in those contracts you work on a milestone billing. So that means if you have a certain milestone in the project, you can send an invoice, but you're not sending invoices of the work you've been doing. You're sending an invoice because you have reached a milestone, which means that cash flow wise and the real work are not in sync. So we had, for our accounting system, we had to really set up a system where we could follow up the project. How are we doing in the project? Are we doing everything properly? The budget control is there important. On the other hand, the pure quarterly reporting is separate from this project. So we had to build in those milestone billing projects a wall between the project management and the invoicing part. So the sales orders in Odoo and the project module. That's one of our types of project. Another one is service billing. So if we do the data analysis, and we do it on a monthly basis, and that's really very iterative and really services. So it's not on milestones. It's really every month a report, etc. So that's really service part billing, and that's really driven from the sales order. So that there the project part is less important. And then finally we also have hardware billing. And what do we call, what do we mean by hardware billing? Well, for example, spare parts. If clients need spare parts or they need small adaptations to project, then it's not a big contract, it's not with milestone billing, it's also not service billing, it's really buying and selling hardware and services. So that's really a third part. And the fact that we had those three things made it really difficult to implement it in Odoo, and that's why we asked Deloitte to help us to implement this part.
Yeah, that's correct, Gert. And as you would see on this slide, we wanted to capture a bit the full scope of the implementation that we did. And like Gert mentioned, the fact that there were different revenue streams made it really complex. And here, what you can see on the top left of the screen is that we're keeping the quoting in Excel for now, and the client contracts are done in PDF, of course. But the PDF that we for the contract then are input in Odoo in the sense of they are created on sales order. The sales order that we are creating in Odoo are allocated to a project. So the project is mostly created beforehand so that we create the link from the sales order to the project. And so at that point we already have some analytical accounting that is being used. Of course, once the sales order is created, validated and so on, everything is then moved in the project app. And there starts everything about the project management, so the project lifecycle. And as you can see on this slide, we try to capture the entire ecosystem of the project that we are using at 2foresee currently. So what do we have in project? Of course, we have tasks. All those tasks are allocated to an analytical dimension. And on those tasks, of course, you can have some timesheets. Also, those timesheets, we track the analytical accounting. Because as we mentioned, we have the different divisions, the different type of projects, different type of employees that are working on. Those employees have different hourly costs, and all those things lead up to what we need to track the budget of those projects. Alongside timesheets and tasks, we also use purchase. Of course, Gert in his project has to have some procurement orders for buying the hardware that they are reselling, the components that they are using in their manufacturing flow. Manufacturing is not yet implemented. That's our next phase. We also have expenses because employees at 2foresee, they work offshore, onshore, but abroad as well. So all those let's say overhead costs as well have to be taken into account when we are doing the project monitoring. Of course, then we have the revenue on customer invoices. But when we're talking about project revenue recognition, we also need project percentage of completion. And so that's where we had to do the bit of customization, because how Odoo computes the percentage of completion is just based on the timesheet and the time that is planned. So we did just our own customization to track manually the percentage of completion. And all these things, so the analytical that we are tracking, the percentage of completion, everything is then gathered into some spreadsheets that we built inside of Odoo. So we are really leveraging the full scope of Odoo, all the features in Odoo, to actually gather all the data in some custom-made dashboard inside of the Odoo spreadsheet application. So everything is flowing from those modules. Everything is flowing there in real time, and you are able to have three main spreadsheets dashboard. One for operational budget tracking. So really, we can have an overview of all the different tasks per project, filter on a specific project, and have the progress of completion for that each of those tasks. Then that are computed to give an overall weighted average of completion for that specific project. Then of course we're using project update, where the project manager can then put that progress of completion for the project. And then we have our accountant at 2foresee, which is also from Deloitte, that can compute the accruals and create the specific accruals entries to record the revenue recognition at the point of the closing. We have other more reporting dashboards, so gross margin based on the different revenue and cost of the project. So really to have a look at a specific point in time, the health monitoring of the project. And finally, the financial project report, where all the progress of each project are computed in one dashboard that helps the closing for the accountant. So really what you have to keep in mind is that we're really leveraging analytical accounting and the spreadsheets that are in Odoo. So this is a quick preview of one of the spreadsheet that we are able to build. So if you have any question about it, I would gladly discuss that with you as well, because I really like the spreadsheet tool in Odoo. I think it's a powerful one. And as a conclusion that we wanted to discuss this talk is that the project at 2foresee was a really interesting one, because it was a really challenging one in terms of the fact that 2foresee has a complex business. So they have long-term projects with a long sales cycle. So the quoting part, the sales part can take up to 2 years. Yep. So there's a lot of discussion going there. So, and the challenge was to really capture that everything that they're selling into the sales order. And of course, then the managing part, the reporting part, the budgeting part, everything was a challenge there. So revenue recognition, like I said. But something that we enjoyed doing during that project is the fact that 2foresee, as a startup, scale-up in the technological sector, also were really open-minded to change. So the motto is really to adopt before adapt. So Gert and his team were really open-minded to change the way they were working to adopt how Odoo was working. So there's, I think there were a lot of changes going on in at 2foresee, and
I definitely want to mention that part, because if you start talking about Odoo implementations, a lot of people think, okay, we have a software framework and we're going to adapt it to our process. No, we did it a different way around. We looked at the software framework and we thought, since we're still a kind of small company, how can we adapt our processes to that software, which is much cheaper in the end to do so than to really start customizations on your side. The only customizations we did in the Odoo part is adding fields with Studio, and also doing those sheets that have been created for reporting. But that's the only thing. We didn't start writing code in Odoo, because we thought if we start doing this, then every new release we have to update the code and so on. So to keep it maintainable, we really adapted our processes to Odoo and not the other way around. And I think that's a really important message to companies who implement this for small companies. Really ask the companies to adapt their processes. It's much cheaper. On one hand, on the other hand, for potential customers, think about it. If you really want to keep your processes and adapt it to the software, it will be much more effort to do so than to adapt your processes, especially for small companies. That's the case.
Yeah, thank you, Gert. We also implemented new processes in Odoo, which were also a challenge, because 2foresee was already operating on Odoo, so it was also a challenge there to change the way that we were currently using the system, but not recreate those bad habits in the new system either. So we had a lot of discussions, And that's why we also decided to start really with a new environment. So really from scratch, redefining the products, redefining the chart of accounts, because they were not using analytical accounting before that, at least not for the project management. So everything was redefined. So it was really starting from scratch, redefining everything. And now with the current way of working, as you can see on the slide, it's a bit small, but they're really they can really now monitor on a really granular level. So really on the task level, each actuals based on the progress of completion of the task, based on the timesheets, and so on. So, and those are really it's for any project that they have in. It's not a fixed template that they. It's not a fixed spreadsheet. So every time a new project is created, every time new tasks are being created, every time timesheets are being completed, everything goes into the dashboard. Everything is updated in real time. The project manager can just filter on the different projects, on the timing as well, because they are working on a quarterly basis. So every quarter you have different numbers that flow in. So they are able to monitor each quarter at for each of the projects. So I think we are pretty satisfied of the
projects.
Dashboard.
We can even monitor on a daily basis. Huh? So on a daily basis we can see are we working good in this project or not. The financial closing is on a quarterly basis, of course, but that's really important. In this presentation, we didn't show a lot of screenshots about the reports. If you are interested, Julien is at the booth of Deloitte, so please visit him and he can show you more details about how it is done in practice.
Yeah, exactly. So we are just situated right behind you down the aisle. We are there the entire day. If you have any questions, or if you want a quick demo of what we can do with the spreadsheet app, feel free to come by. We can sit down, we have some space, and have a chat, and we will gladly answer your question. Thank you for listening.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you have a mic or?
You can take this one.
Right, thank you for the presentation. The first question is, we've talked about operational reporting, about past facts, or about forecast?
That's correct. Forecast is still something we don't do yet in Odoo. And I hope every new release that Odoo provides something for forecasting, so cash flow planning also. Of course, in our case, since we have the projects, most of our projects have a very slow sales cycle, which means that we also have the time to project our cash flow on one hand. On the other hand, also the planning is something we can adapt. It's still in Excel. It's not in Odoo yet. But we have the time because those projects are really also slow projects in progress. A typical project takes 3 years in finalizing it. So there we have some options in Excel, not in Odoo yet. But it is a very good question. It's what about projecting costs? Definitely, that's something we hope next year to work on.
Maybe for next phase, and we can still
for the next talk.
Maybe.
Thank you. All right. Can you give an example of adaptation of company process to Odoo?
Well, a very big adaptation is that, for example, before we started the project with Deloitte, our project managers, they had access to the sales orders. So also they could see the sales budgets. And if we had done a good sale, they saw there was a lot of budget. And that didn't push them to work efficiently. Yeah? Now we adapted it, and so there is really a financial wall between the sales part and the project management. And in project management, they get new budgets per task, and they can see there how they are doing in the process of the project. And that was really one of the biggest changes in processes to foresee. Yeah.
Thank you. And what are the action items that you can do based on the dashboard, or how do you know if there is anything needs to be done? Maybe you want to read it.
If it's on the project reporting dashboard,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you can
You can
answer that one.
actually see the actual and the cost variance. So at any point in time, you can actually see which tasks are, if you are leading or if you are behind. So at any point in time, you can see if you are just burning budget or if you are ahead, and that you can allocate that budget to another task. So that tool is really for the project manager to foresee, to really a bit play with this budget as well. So we're keeping it flexible as well for your project managers.
I think there's a mainly two things. That's the progress of every task can be followed up, and that progress is not linked to timesheeting. So timesheeting is mainly used for costing. So you can see, are we if we have a progress of 50%, but we are spending much more time than expected, then you will see immediately that you're not doing that task on a very good way. So the project managers has the parameter progress and has to and can follow up the timesheets, and that's really important to make. It's not because you're spending a lot of time that you're making a lot of progress, and the other way around. So you can see on task level if it's a very profitable task or not, which then is feedback again for the sales department. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
No,
I'm checking
you're
if there's
welcome.
no new question. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
If
you
there
very
are
much.
still questions, please visit Julien at the booth, or you can contact me over LinkedIn also.
Thank you.